A very good morning to one and all. Let me begin my presentation today with a quote. I know that you believe you understand what you think I said, but I'm not sure that you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. And I'm pretty sure all of you are confused with this quote, which brings me to the topic of my presentation today, which is the importance of proper communication skills. I'm Professor Sowmya Nettem and I'm working in the Department of Periodontics, Faculty of Dentistry, Malacca Manipal Medical College. Whether it's online teaching or face-to-face teaching, correct communication skill plays a major role in sending across the right message and content to our students who are our listeners. So my intended learning outcomes today is to be able to reflect at our own verbal and non-verbal communication skills and try and hone them to perfection. All of you will agree that our voice is the one which plays a major role in a correct communication. Voice and expressions have an impact on the listeners, and voice and expressions actually go hand in hand for an effective communication. Who are our listeners? In a healthcare setting, it is our students, our colleagues, our superiors, and our patients who will be listening to our communications. And hence, it is very important for us to modulate the voice and the tone and intensity of it in order to send across a meaningful and effective communication. Coming to voice inflections. What are voice inflections? We will see that shortly. Voice inflections have the power to affect a communication. If you are watching this presentation now, why don't you try and say the word O with different inflections? Let me try and show you a few examples. Imagine that you are surprised right now and you want to use the word O. How would you say that? You would say, "Oh!" And imagine that you are in a state of shock and you want to use the word "oh." How would you do that? Oh. Imagine that you are listening intently to a conversation. How would you use the word "oh"? You would say "oh." So as you can see here, the differences between all these but using the same word may be very subtle at times, but in these subtleties lies the difference between understanding what someone really means and missing what their message is entirely. And that is why voice is very important. Coming to the next important aspect of communication, which is lockdown versus loosen up. Again, this is a simple exercise that you can try and do at home. Lockdown means what? In case you are sitting online and in the same way now presenting to your students where you are also visible to your students, or in a face-to-face setting where the students can actually see what you are doing and what you are talking. If you are in a lockdown posture, which means your shoulders are drooping, your neck and head are not straight and it is drooping down too. Whatever you are trying to say is not going to be sent across correctly to your listeners. Whereas in loosen up posture, which means you are sitting straight with your shoulders straight, head and neck and back erect, then whatever you are trying to communicate is going to be highly effective. You can try doing lockdown and loosen up and feel the difference. So what did you observe and learn just now from this exercise? Lockdown posture is not just uncomfortable for the listener, it is equally uncomfortable for the speaker. Differences in expressiveness will also be there, and differences in engaging the listener will also be there. Engaging the listener will be less if you are in a lockdown posture. Engaging the listener will be very good if you are in a loosen up posture. Body postures also send across powerful messages about our attitude to the people who are around us, which means the way in which you sit, the way in which you stand, the way in which you lie down, whatever be the method or the posture, the way you communicate will have a major influence regarding our feelings about the information that we share, regarding our feelings about other people. So what is the correct body posture? It is when you sit straight, with open hands, which shows that you are welcoming their suggestions, and body slightly leaning towards the others forwards, which shows you are open to communication. Coming to voice fillers. What are voice fillers? When you are trying to talk or communicate with someone, in between when you are not able to get the continuity, there will be a tendency to use some filler words. For example, you might try to say a lot of filler words like, for example, or you may say, you know what I mean, you know what I'm trying to say, all these and like are all examples of voice fillers. When does it happen? It happens when you need to think and recollect what your next sentence is going to be. How can you cut down on the number of fillers? It can be done by conscious efforts and when you allow time to think. Maybe you can pause a bit or you can give a moment of silence before you continue with your next sentence. In this way, voice fillers can be avoided. Next, coming to the role of hand gestures. Maybe you can take a look at this clip. You can see here from this video how hand gestures can have an impact on the listeners. You can use your hand gestures to reinforce a message. It adds vitality and human quality to your message. But overdoing or underdoing the gesture will lead to ineffective communication. So what can you do? Avoid repetitive gestures. Holding objects while gesturing like a patient folder or notes or a pen. All these can distract the listeners when you're communicating. Effective hand gestures can be if they are varied. Instead of using the same hand gestures, you can use varied hand gestures. It should be relaxed, sporadic, it should be purposeful, and most often or always it should be free hands. Next, coming to listening. What is important in listening? Do not make assumptions regarding what someone wants. It may lead to misunderstanding of communication. Listen carefully while the other person speaks. Our assumptions cause us to focus on the wrong things when we communicate with others. We need to keep an open mind about what may be the most important and critical aspect of communication. The audience takeaway message is for effective communication, cultivate loosen up posture, be vocal and expressive, engage the listener, most importantly, be a good listener. Use your communication style to your advantage. And with that, we come to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.